In the age of artificial intelligence revolutions, global trade wars, and mounting geopolitical crises in every corner of the planet, it's easy to miss a silent turning point. While headlines focus on the AI boom, US-China tariffs, the chaos in Southeast Asia, or upcoming elections in the West, a brutal and potentially decisive phase of the war in Ukraine is unfolding, largely unnoticed. Russia is not making loud declarations nor staging dramatic parades. Instead, it is launching a cold, calculated, and unrelenting offensive. Not with fireworks, but with steel, fire, and silence. The question now is not whether Ukraine can win, but whether it can even hold the line. And more importantly, why is Russia choosing this exact moment to press harder than ever? On July 31st, after months of intense combat, the Russian Ministry of Defense declared full control over Chasov Yar, also referred to as Trezhia in local circles, a symbolic and strategic fortress that had long stood as a stronghold for Ukraine's eastern front. This was not just another town on the map. Chasov Yar was a keystone in the Ukrainian defense system. Situated atop elevated terrain and surrounded by valleys, rivers, and over 30 natural lakes, the town had served since early 2024 as a logistical and operational hub. It controlled supply lines, communications, and artillery positioning across much of Donetsk. The fall of Trezhia does not just shift front lines. It fractures Ukraine's entire eastern defense network. Cities like Konstantinovka, Rukhovka, and Slavyansk, once secure in their defensive depth, are now exposed. Analysts liken this to a domino effect, one that may unravel months of defensive planning in just weeks. Almost immediately after securing Chasov Yar, Russian forces initiated a massive assault on Brov, the last major Ukrainian-controlled urban center in the province of Donetsk. What makes Brov different is its strategic value. It serves as a transportation hub, medical center, and regional command node for Ukrainian forces. Losing it would mean losing not just land, but control over a vast section of the Donbas region. Currently, Brov is being encircled from 3 directions: north, east, and south by Russian units that are coordinating with UAV reconnaissance, long-range precision artillery, and small rapid response strike teams. This is not a classic armored blitz. It is surgical, adaptive, and relentless. In winter 2024, Russia quietly seized the main road linking Brov with Kostiantynivka, cutting off critical supply arteries. Now, with the city under siege and reinforcements choked off, Ukrainian forces inside are increasingly isolated, trapped in a shrinking perimeter with dwindling resources. As the Eastern Front teeters, Ukraine has turned its eyes south, attempting to regain initiative by launching a surprise amphibious campaign near Kherson, along the Black Sea coast. Intelligence suggests that Ukrainian forces have been amassing troops near Kherson, the Ochakiv coastline, with 2 particular spit formations, Tendrosia and Kimskaya, becoming focal points. The objective: a marine landing to punch through Russia's riverine defenses at the Dnipro Delta. But Moscow was watching. Russian troops stationed in Kherson detected a rise in Ukrainian UAV activity, from surveillance drones to FPV, first-person view kamikaze drones. Electronic warfare stations along the coast picked up signals indicating remote command centers for drone coordination. In short, Russia had full awareness of Ukraine's intentions. A trial operation, backed by Bayraktar TB2 drones, which had become icons of Ukraine's early war success, ended in disaster. Russian radars and recon UAVs intercepted the raiding boats early, and precise artillery and helicopter fire neutralized the attack. Ukrainian special forces were forced to retreat to Odessa, leaving casualties and destroyed equipment behind. Meanwhile, Russia retook full control of the Antonovsky Bridge, once a landmark of Ukraine's 2022 counteroffensive. Although damaged, the bridge remains a vital strategic crossing over the Dnipro River, reinforcing Russia's control over both sides of Kherson. Why now? Decoding Russia's perfect timing. Analysts are asking the same question. Why is Russia launching its largest coordinated offensives since early 2023 now? The answer, it turns out, may not lie in some breakthrough technology or secret weapon, but in a convergence of opportunity, weakness, and calculation. Ukraine is at its weakest point since the war began. With a front line exceeding 1,000 kilometers, Ukraine's military is overstretched and undermanned. Morale is plummeting. Mass evasion of military conscription, especially among young Ukrainians, reflects deepening fatigue and public skepticism. Combat troops are exhausted after grueling losses in Donbas, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. No major Western aid packages have been fully delivered in 2025. The much-discussed $1 billion U.S. aid plan remains stuck in committee, and Kyiv has stated it needs at least $60 billion to sustain operations, an astronomical shortfall. The world is distracted, and Russia is capitalizing on that. The global media spotlight has shifted. U.S.-China economic tensions, elections, and Southeast Asian instability are dominating news cycles. Ukraine, once the moral rallying point of the West, now barely makes front-page headlines. With less global attention, Russia faces fewer diplomatic consequences and less international pressure to restrain its actions. Moscow is now smarter, more prepared, and more dangerous. Russian military doctrine has evolved, no longer relying on brute force invasion tactics. The electronic warfare and fast response units now form the backbone of Russia's offensive architecture. The recapture of Antonovsky Bridge and the blockade of the Brov-Kostiantynivka highway reflect this new doctrine perfectly. Why storm the walls when you can starve the garrison? 4. Weather and terrain are on Russia's side. The Eastern European summer brings dry ground, clearer skies, and longer daylight. All ideal conditions for mechanized warfare, UAV deployment, and amphibious coordination. Unlike the muddy winters or rainy springs that bog down heavy vehicles and drones, summer gives Russia full operational advantage. 5. Russia doesn't want to prolong the war. It wants to end it on its own terms. Moscow is not seeking peace negotiations at this stage, not the way Istanbul talks were once framed. Russia will only end the war when it gains enough territory to establish a security buffer zone, exhausts Ukraine both militarily and psychologically, and when the world is too tired to argue. At that moment, the Kremlin will likely propose a ceasefire or peace deal, but from a position of absolute strength. From Chasov to Brov, from Donetsk to Kherson, Ukraine's front lines, once symbols of defiance and resilience, are now crumbling, one after another. With every passing week, more territory is lost, more soldiers are killed or captured, and more supply chains are severed. The situation raises pressing questions. How many more cities can Ukraine afford to lose before its eastern defense collapses entirely? Will Western aid arrive in time and in sufficient quantity to reverse the tide? And most importantly, has Russia finally turned the tide of the war? This is not just another flare-up. This may be the beginning of the endgame. A slow, methodical, and chilling campaign that could determine not just Ukraine's fate, but the strategic balance of Europe for decades to come. Russia has chosen its moment with chilling precision. It is fighting not for symbolism, but for strategic positioning, waiting for the perfect storm of global distraction, Ukrainian exhaustion, and favorable terrain. The world must now ask itself, if Ukraine falls silently, will anyone even notice?